Okay, good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Khenpo.
evening, Khenpo.
Yeah, you hear my voice? It's good connection?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we have some change, right? We will have Chinese translation only after in next week. So Anila could prepare completely what has been taught in this week. So it would be better for both English listeners and also the Chinese listeners. So we'll see if this works out very well or not. So today I will just speak by myself, and unfortunately I cannot speak Chinese, so I will have to speak in English. So yesterday I got a question from last class. There was a question sending what is the wisdom, what are the wisdom of emptiness and wisdom of enlightenment? So somebody asked this question before, and actually I'm not very clear about this question, but I will just randomly say, because wisdom of emptiness and wisdom of enlightenment, it is not exactly said like that in Buddhist context. But when you want to know wisdom generally means in Buddhism something you know about the reality. So I think it's in page number maybe 128, 128. Next page. Can we change the page? Next page. Okay, that's fine. So wisdom normally means something that knows the reality is called wisdom in Buddhism. And there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge and intelligence in Buddhism, because wisdom, as said by His Holiness 42nd last year when he was teaching, wisdom is the highest form of knowledge. So it is not necessarily talking about knowing something like mathematics or economics. It's not like that. Wisdom means something knowing the ultimate reality. So ultimate reality means, which we will now teach during the bodhicitta. We will come to that part later. So going back to the question, there are many kind of wisdom, but in Buddhism we categorize the wisdom into two, mainly wisdom of knowing selflessness, or knowing the selflessness or empty of oneself. And the second wisdom is called wisdom of knowing selflessness of all the things, all the phenomena. So these are the two main wisdom we talk about in Buddhism. Maybe a little bit different in Theravada, because the Theravada only mostly doesn't talk about wisdom of all things. They only talk about arhatship, which is only very middle kind of liberation comparing to Buddhahood. So because now we are in Mahayana context, we must know that wisdom is primarily divided into two: wisdom of selflessness or empty of oneself, wisdom of empty of every phenomenon, everything that you see. So these are two main wisdom which will be frequently coming in all the Mahayana texts, including in the Vajrayana. So the one who knows the emptiness is called wisdom. So that is very clear and simple. So that's the answer for the question for the last class. Now we will go to the today's class, and then I'm hoping today I will cover the ultimate bodhicitta. There are two. It's okay. You don't have to scroll. There are actually three parts of the ultimate bodhicitta, right? So I will just maybe complete until the second part of ultimate bodhicitta. Before that, I will just recollect what we have said in the last two classes because it's very important. We have this tradition in monastic college where every day the teacher has to repeat what has been said before and then briefly after giving the whole abstract or what you call the sort of a flashback, then we move to the next text. That's the traditional approach in Shiraz or monastic university. So I would like to follow that same thing because maybe it will help in understanding clearly what has been said before, which might not be clear to you until now. So in the first day, we talk about the background of the text, right? How it became, what's the main literal meaning of lojong, why it matters, what's the benefit, what are the 7 points. And then we also talk about, I think, life of Atisha, who is the composer of this text. But you have to be aware that there are many texts, and some say this 7 point is composed by later masters called Chekawa, Hishitorje. This Kadamba masters, that is way too, I think almost there's a gap between Atisha and them, few centuries. So there's a lot of study that we have to do about Buddhist texts. All these Buddhist texts are so vast and so universal that this text has not been 100% definite in interpretation. That's why we have debate, we have argument, and that's why we have division of schools, like why Theravada parted away and why Mahayana become different and why Vajrayana. So I think that's the beauty about this whole teaching of Buddha. Buddha's teaching is so vast that I think it's impossible to to explain this universal teaching in one single sentence or one single text. Therefore, you have to be always aware and investigate on your own. Investigate by yourself whether this is actually true or not. Because Buddha himself said in one of the, I think, Tantra, it's famously quoted, uh, you must investigate my teaching like the way you refine and polish the gold. When you find the gold from the ground or beneath the earth from some kind of mines, you don't directly go and sell it or wear it. You have to refine it, you have to boil it, you have to use fire. Is it clear? Hello?
Yeah, Khenpo is okay.
It's okay, right? Voice
It's
is
okay.
clear.
It's okay.
So that's why all these teachings that you received from from me, from Khenpo's, from Rinpoche's, you have the right, you have the privilege to investigate that. This is what Buddha said, like the gold. So therefore, one should not have blind faith and just jump to the conclusion that what Ngawang said is true or what Khenpo said is true. You check that, you compare with other notes, other important books, especially real books by good teachers like Virupa or Sakya Pandita or, the Atishas. Check it. So this is what we learned before. And then in the second day, we talk about the first of 7 points. The first among the 7 points is about Ngondo, how Ngondo, the four, is usually very famously called Lodok Namshi, or these 4 points, which is Ngondo in this context, it is called the 4 things that change your mind. So that's the real idea of this 4 point, like this impermanence, difficulty of obtaining human life, and then the law of karmas, and then the fourth one is the faults, seeing the fault of samsara. These four are always said, categorized as 4 points of transforming your mind, changing your mind. So how to change your mind? When you think too much about these four things, your mind become more spiritual, not religious. Religious is something very tricky. Your mind become more spiritually looking for spiritual guidance, like you want to be awakening, you want to be Buddha. So that's why these 4 points transform your current situation of mind, which is very mundane, very local, very worldly and materialistic. You think you are realist, but you are still in the illusion of samsara, and therefore you want to break away from that because of this 4 point. That's why this 4 point is called the four cause that transform, change your mind from the current state of suffering into awakening. So that's the simple way of defining this 4 point. So then when we understand this 4 point, it is very, as I said, accepted by all schools, Nyingma, Sakya, Kelu, Kagyu, and the Theravadas also, right? And these has very important thing, because without these, I think there's no Mahayana teaching at all. So if you forget this thing and just jump to the regular sadhana or receiving the empowerment, I think we are lacking the fundamental, the very important pillar of all the practice. That's why these teachings are everywhere, in Lamde also, in Lamrim also, and then also in the Mahamudras, Angondos, and the Nyingmas, Longcheng Yingtik. You'll find this everywhere. So you cannot just jump and ignore this point. If you really want to be a spiritual person, you must always contemplate and familiarize with these four things, the four meaning. Like the first one, of difficulty of turning human birth, there's a famous story of the turtle who is blind, who always comes once in 100 years above the sea just to show off his head for 1 or 2 seconds. And then there's this yolk that is always moving around because of the strong wind on the surface of the ocean. And there's a zero chance that this yolk will fit into the head of the turtle. So that's Shantideva's famous analogy, an example of difficulty of obtaining human life. So why we think that at the beginning is because some people don't consider themselves very fortunate. Just being born as a human, I think that is the greatest gift ever. I think I'm hearing some voice.
Um, I'm not sure who phone was always unmute. Okay, I mute it. Okay.
So, you see, just being born as a human, it's a very fortunate thing. And it is more fortunate, as Buddha said and Shantideva said, with having complete set of your organ. You are not blind, you have a good hearing capabilities, and you are able with all these limbs, hand, legs. Just with that and a little bit of intellectual is enough to practice the Dharma. So one should never feel discouraged just because you are poor by materialistic gain, just because you are poor because of social status, just because you are poor uh, based on the ranking of nations or passport or bank balance. These are what we call illusion. These are just a temporary thing. So this first point said that without all those things, if you are just a human and you have all these eyes, ear, five organs, five sense organ intact, and with all the legs and hands, I think you are the best vessel and worthy to practice the Dharma. So I think that's the main point of the first among these four. And the second one, which talks about the impermanence, as I said, there are two impermanent, right? Subtle impermanent and gross impermanent. Mm, so you might think is too much sometimes, too much information, but these are very easy. I mean, these are very sort of important thing. And if I just ignore these and just jump to page by page, I think I'm not justifying the position of teaching. If I just read out the text, then there's no point in actually being called and as a teacher. So sometimes it's very difficult to find this thing inside the text because I'm going beyond the text, but it is always coming back to the point in the text. This is what the teachers, monks teach, the monks Khenpos teach in the shetras to the monks. We don't have a tradition of reading the text like, oh, we should reflect deeply on number one, we should reflect deeply on, this is not how it works in shetras university. So it might be very sort of difficult, as some people say, too much information, but I'll try to be very slow and gentle. At the same time, we have to be honest that the Dharma is always difficult if you try to think that from the worldly point of view. If you think still from your own previous state, as if you have just come from the office, and if you have the same idea when you listen to the Dharma that I am a nurse, I am a businessman, then it's going to be very difficult to listen to Dharma because the Dharma is always opposite of that. It's against that kind of thing. So I'm not trying to make you monks and nuns, right? I'm not trying to make you think like that way. Being lay people, you cannot still become a bodhisattva, like and a Buddha also, like the king Indrabhuti. The king Indrabhuti, he has a wife, children, but he gained uh, the attainment just by receiving the empowerment for in the second day. So it is always possibility. But why these things can be very difficult to understand and digest is because you are still thinking from the worldly perspective. So I think that is every day when you come to the class, every day when you do the sadhana, if you wanted to make it very meaningful, I think the first thing before you sit on the cushion and the sit in the chair, you have to change that perspective that now you are a different person, you are a spiritual person, you are a practitioner, you are blessed one, you are the very fortunate one, you have the thing like that, and then it helps you understand this text. And so this is what it talks about human life, and then the impermanence. Permanence is the most crucial among the four. There are four things, but one of the teachings say that in the Lamde, Ngondo of the Lamde, the Sakapa Lamde, it is said that the mitakpa, the impermanence, is the most strongest and the most powerful among these four means that change and transform your mind, because the impermanence makes you realize you don't have time left, or you must do it right now, or there's impermanence which is very temporarily, momentarily. Every single second I'm actually passing into impermanence. There's no way I can avoid that. There's nobody on the universe that has avoided death, including Buddha, right? So it's not the case that I will be still healthy, young, and sharp tomorrow. So that's why, there's a story of this. If you look at this Lojong text, the history, these Kadamba masters, they are called Kadamba, and they are said to be the true follower of the Atisha's teaching. But nowadays, it the tradition of Kadamba has stopped, despite the fact that now the Gelugpa, they claim that they are the new Kadambas. But but if you look at the history, I think I'm not sure, maybe after the Kadambas, I think the Kadambas survived for only few centuries and they passed away because they were all monks. And then the students were also very few. Like this 7-point mind training, when it was given by Atisha, he gave to only one student, the Domdumba. Only one person in his whole life. He gave it to only one person. So if you look at that kind of scenario, the Kadamba got extinct. They actually completely ceased to exist. But the Gelugpa said they are the new Kadambas. But I think every teachings of the Kadamba is incorporated and compiled in all the four schools, Kelupas, Kagyupas, and every all the Mayan schools. So I think you have to know that these Kadambas, they got extinct, and no, one of the Kadamba, I forgot the name, but he was always meditating in the cave, in the cave in the Tibet, a very hard, high cave. And in those days, the caves are actually very not facilitated. It's actually a rock cave. And they have to go out for alms. They have to come back to do meditation. They don't have home. They don't have family. And one day, this Kadamba actually went out. I think he's something Kagomba or Romba or something like that, his name. He went outside to take a break. And then there was this, plant with the bush that has a very pricking, something that makes you prick. What do you call that? Tserma. Like, this thing that makes you pick. So then he came out, he got brushed, and his hand or some part of the body got actually cut by that bush. And he thought at the moment when he got wounded, he thought, oh, maybe I will cut this bush because it is making me bleeding. But then right away, he thought about the impermanence. There's no guarantee that I will return after going out because that's the nature of impermanence. So what's the point of cutting the tree? Because there's no guarantee that I will come after a few hours or few seconds. So that's the way how they live their whole life. That's the way how they were so much serious that I think that's the reason why Kadamba got extinct, the real Kadambas, because they were so serious about this impermanence. And there's one Kadamba who is always crying. They have this because he always thinking about impermanence. And there's another Kadamba who whenever he eat the food, before sleeping, he always flip the bowl or the tea cup upside down because there's no guarantee that he will wake up tomorrow because he knows the nature of impermanence. So that's the thing that makes you change your mind. That's why it's called four means of changing your mind to spirituality. So I think these are what we cover in the second day. And then there's law of karma, which is very detailed, which is very tough to explain. But we have to understand that those who understand good intention generate good karma and bad intention generate bad karma, it is enough for them to live their life in that way. That's the basic rule of karma. That's the basic rule of karma. Otherwise, some people come say, and some people ask like, I worked so hard for whole life, why I cannot be rich? So, and then some people say, I've always been patient, but still I'm not liked by many people. They still despise me. So these are all karma's thing. You do good, but there's no guarantee you are always getting a good thing because the fact that you have lived so long in previous life, you have changed your whole body for countless time, and there's no beginning of that. So these things also create karmas. So that is the answer for that kind of thing. But there's also a solution for future. If you use this present body for generating good intention, like His Holiness Sage Komarum always say before the empowerment, whatever you do for next life, do with this body. Whatever you have done in the past life, see in this body. So this body is the only thing, evidence that proves what has happened in the past, what will happen in the future. So these are very important things, and these are very important thing we learn during the Ngondo. So these are Ngondo. And then I think when we talk about Ngondo, some commentary explain out Guru Yoga, but in this text, there's no Guru Yoga. So you will have this kind of doubt sometime, but this is based on different commentary. So this one doesn't talk about that. This only talk about this fourth thing. And then the main thing is before generating the bodhicitta, these four things must be generated. And then it is not written, but in the commentary, it's written that you should also have compassion and loving kindness before becoming a bodhicitta. So the main practice, the cultivation of bodhicitta, you can see in the screen. Before that, after the four means, you have to now again create a connection with the bodhicitta. It's not sufficient, it's not enough. So for that, you have to be very compassionate and loving kindness. And compassionate and loving kindness, everyone knows, right, is actually universal. It's not based on one person or one family. Compassion and the loving kindness in Mahayana context refers to every living sentient beings, everything that has a life. And you must be compassionate towards them. You must become kind towards them. And that's the real thing that connects your mind to the bodhicitta. Why? Because bodhicitta directly practicing can be little bit difficult because it is a new perception. It's a new ideology. So in order to make your mind prepare and fertile ground for that bodhicitta, kindness and compassion is a must before bodhicitta. So that is also included, but it is not written in the text, I think. So you might have to note that in your text. So now so we have refreshed what has been taught until now. Now we'll talk about bodhicitta, the main point of among the seven. We have finished the first point, 7 point of mind training. We have finished the first point. Now we will talk about the second point, which is the main practice. The main practice is the second among the seven. So it talks about cultivation of bodhicitta, and bodhicitta has two types: ultimate bodhicitta and relative bodhicitta. But it's very funny in most of the texts like Shantidevas or other texts like Maitreya, relative bodhicitta is taught at the beginning. But here, interestingly, the ultimate bodhicitta is taught at the beginning. So that's the question, right? So this is a big question. So my opinion, my answer is that why the tough, difficult last part is explained at the very beginning. Some people has a style. It is because it is based on pith instruction. This is not like lamrim or the stages of path like Shantidevas. This is actually given to special people like Atisha's disciple who are already understanding these things. So I think that is one of the reasons why the ultimate bodhicitta is explained before the relative bodhicitta. So, but normally in maximum of the texts, relative is first always, and ultimate comes later of the relative part. So this is something you have to again understand the series, the sequence. It's actually upside down. So the second section concerns the actual practice, the cultivation of bodhicitta, which means becoming bodhisattva. Cultivation of bodhicitta means becoming a bodhisattva. So it has ultimate bodhicitta and cultivation of relative bodhicitta. So the cultivation of ultimate bodhicitta has two divisions: meditative equipoise and the training between the session. So I think this translator has actually missed a very important point. I think this is a mistake, not mistaken. He has missed a point in the actual text. It has 3 point. Bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta has 3 divisions actually. The preliminary, you see in the 4th line, he is missing the preliminary again. The preliminary, meditation, and the subsequent attainment. So I think he has missed the point. So maybe I'll have to note it down and give it to the translator. He has missed the real thing there, which is also in the main text. So you see, texts are not supposed to be just read and believed. You have to check, you have to analyze that. So I saw a mistake, and also you have to be also sometimes use that technique to be sharp and open-minded, because ultimate bodhicitta means the main practice, the main samadhi, the main what you call vipassana. those who have joined the previous class with our founder Khenpo Kedula, he taught about, I think, meditation and breathing technique, and the 9 stages of breathing, the 9 cycles of breathing technique. During the COVID, I think I clearly remember he taught that. Maybe in next class, you have to replay that video where he has done this breathing technique, which is the preliminary. So first, as a preliminary for training in meditative equipoise, in the text you see, for your thoughts, count the breath. This is actually the first among the 3 divisions if you wanted to practice ultimate bodhicitta. So let me just give you the idea what is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means the thinking, the intention to become a complete Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. That is called bodhicitta. It's very simple. So how they are generated? The relative bodhicitta is actually generated by rituals or repetition of word. It's like you have to chant something. It's only that you get that after that. But I think you all of you have already got the bodhicitta because you received the empowerment during His Holiness visit last few months ago, right? So I'm guessing it's included there. So you have already a bodhicitta. But it's very good that every morning, if you try to remember these things by chanting in the sadhana, in the first part of the sadhana, it is written, "May I begin Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings." If you read that, then you are originally a bodhicitta. That's called relative bodhicitta generation. Now, this ultimate bodhicitta is not, they don't need rituals. They don't need rechanting. Ultimate bodhicitta means placing your mind on emptiness, which we just talked about before. Placing the mind on emptiness is called bodhicitta. That's the final practice. That's the final way of becoming free from this world of samsara and getting close to the 11th stage of the Buddhahood. So I know I'm speaking fast and too much information, but I think we have still half an hour. So these are briefing about the bodhicitta. Now, when you practice the ultimate bodhicitta, there are 3 parts. So what is the preliminary? For your thoughts, count the breath. So that is the preliminary. And this is something you have already been taught by Khenpo when he taught you the breathing technique. You know, with your left hand, you close your right nostrils, inhale from your left nostrils, and then, okay, that's fine. You don't have to go down. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So count the breath means you have to count at least 21 times the breathing technique from 21 times. So 3 times from your right nostrils, 3 times from your left nostrils, and then from the center 3 times. That's 9 cycles. That's what Khenpo taught. So you can repeat that until 21 times. So I'll just briefly do the breathing technique with your left hand. It's the right hand. You close your opposite direction of the nostril, which is the nostril. Then you breathe in 1. Then you keep the air inside 2, and then let out 3. So that is called 3. And you again do with the next nostril 3. And then we again do the 3, inhaling, keeping the wind inside your respiratory system, and then exhaling it out. So that's 3. So there's 9. In one cycle, there's 9. So if you do that cycle for 3 times, 9 into 3, I think is 27, is it? So something like that. So this video, I think they might have this saved from previous teachings, which Khenpo has explained in detail about this breathing technique. Anyway, breathing technique is very important. You have to understand that one breathing cycle includes inhaling from one nostril and also holding the breath as much as possible, not strongly, but according to your own power, and then letting it out from the same nostril. 3. So these are 3 inhaling, exhaling, and remaining in one cycle. And then you do that again in next nostril, and then do that again from both nostril. Inhaling, holding, and letting it out. So that's called one cycle. So you can repeat that as much as possible, but and minimum is 21 times. So maybe nine cycle, I think. So this is called the preliminary or preparation of generating the real ultimate bodhicitta in your mind. So I think most of you already know yoga and what do you call this shamatha, calm abiding meditation, very famous. And then yoga, which is also the Hindus have that. Actually, we have similarity in Hindus yoga and Vajrayana Buddhist yoga and some pujas also. But that doesn't mean we are one. It's completely different. Just because you find few similarity and you jump to the idea that they are one, it is the biggest mistake in philosophy, in knowledge, in religion. So we have this, they also have that, we have this also, but the intention is different, which matters, which makes it more different. The cause and condition is different. That's why the Hindus breathing technique and ours breathing technique is different. So therefore, you will find similarity everywhere. Maybe when we talk about compassion, oh, this is also taught in Christianity. You might think like that, but it's totally different because the fundamental underlying intention is different. That's why never think like that. Oh, this is one. So why we do this breathing technique? There are many reasons why we do that. But in this context, we do this before the ultimate bodhicitta to calm your mind, to calm down your mind, because your present mind, which is focused on what you call the worldly thing, is always disturbed, and these are called what do you call it? It's called coarse discursive thinking in the second last line of this text. The coarse discursive thinking, it's very technical, but it means things that is always bothering you, but it is also almost a part of your life that you can see, like anger, you can see, and that's coarse discursive thinking. Like, let's say laziness. You're so lazy to do meditation. You come home, you don't want to listen to my class because you are coming from long drive. These are called coarse discursive thinking. And the opposite of that is subtle discursive thinking. That is also you have to abandon if you want to become a Buddha. These are all obstacles. That's why we have to get rid of this. But first, the coarse discursive thinking in the second line has to be erased, eliminated, but it's impossible by breathing technique alone, because breathing technique only helps reduce that discursive, bothering thoughts, like what happened in the office just hours ago. You come back, you think about that again and again. You are much more disturbed. You wanted to go tomorrow and fight with that guy. These kind of things can be reduced, minimized, but we cannot root it out just because of breathing technique. So how to root it out? How to completely get rid of this kind of discursive thought? And this is where you have to realize the emptiness through ultimate bodhicitta. That's why it's taught at the very beginning. So these methods are mentioned in Kamalashila's text. So next page. Okay. So Kamalashila text called Bhavana Krama has this lot of way of dealing with disturbing thoughts when you are trying to focus on emptiness or compassion or kindness or taking refuge. So Kamalashila text Bhavan Krama is very famous text, and it is composed around 8th century, and then this has three categories: the first category, middle category, and the last category. So this text has three category or three volumes. So this also is very fundamental text on meditation. And in that text, Kamalashila actually built the foundation for what Mahayana meditation is all about. Because previously, there's a story where when you went to I think, Tibet, or maybe on the way to Tibet from India, the Chinese master called Huashang, Huashang, his meditation technique was very popular, almost in the northern part of Asia, including Tibet. And then they had a debate based on this thinking. And then the Chinese Huashang's meditation was popular because it was so easy to practice. But the problem is there's no such thing like the Huashang's meditation that can be helpful in gaining wisdom. It's just a blank state of mind. That's what Kamalashila said. Even when in the meditation, the mind is not blank. It should not be blank. It should be focused. So you see fundamental, again, difference in other tradition, like same like with Hindus, So you will find a lot of similarities, but that's why it's very important you learn this information despite the fact that you don't want so many information because it's very difficult to memorize. But it's also difficult for me to always think about. But it took us like 20, 25 years to just go through these things, right? So I think you have a lot of work to do, but also fortunately you don't have to attend physical class. We can interact with these social medias, Zooms. So you can always send question whenever you have doubt. So that's the thing. So the actual practice. So what is the actual practice? The second division of the ultimate bodhicitta. So these 4 lines is very famous. Consider all phenomena as a dream. Analyze the fundamental nature of unborn ground awareness. Even the antidote itself vanishes. Oh, that's fine. You don't go down. Okay, that's okay. No, okay. So consider all phenomena, first line in the top, means when you want to be seeing, when you want to be practicing emptiness, first thing you have to know is that the object of the mind has to be empty. In order to realize the emptiness, the object of the mind has to be seen as an emptiness. So how to do that? The first thing says, if you think everything that you see, all phenomena means everything that you see from your mind as a dream, then you will know that even when you wake up, the house that you see, the tree that you see, the sky, the clouds you see, they are all like a dream and it is not real. So that is emptiness, one part of emptiness. So that is emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean blank or completely blackout, like you are beyond the earth, like the black hole, darkness. It's not like that. Emptiness means you still see things like cloud. You see the magic in the magician show, but despite the fact seeing, you are not attached to that because you know it's not true. Similarly, everything you see with your mind and your eyes, with your ears, your sixth sensation or your eighth sensation, you have to think that they are also mind dream. You have to completely think that they are dream. That's called one way of understanding emptiness. And the one who is able to see that reality is called wisdom. That's called wisdom. So, second line says, analyze the fundamental nature of unborn awareness. So it means, so if the thing you see is not true, then what about the mind which sees it? Is it true or not? The answer lies to the second line, analyze the fundamental nature of unborn awareness. The awareness or the mind or the wisdom that sees itself is also unborn, means it doesn't have any existence. It is not real. Simply saying, even the mind that sees the dream is not real. So when you wake up, you have to also, you cannot say that, oh, I'm real, but the dream is not real. You cannot say that. That doesn't work in Buddhist logic. The Buddhist logic says that the Dharmakirti, 4th century, 6th century Pramanas, that say that if you wanted to destroy the subjective, I know it's very technical term, right? Subjective, objective course, but I have no other option, because this is how you always been learning and translating in my career. But subjective means the mind. The masters say that if you wanted to get rid of that attached mind, illusion mind, you have to also destroy the object of that mind. And when the object is destroyed, the mind which sees the object is also eliminated. Means it stop being affliction. It stop being disturbed. It stop being the cause of samsara. So therefore, mind is also empty. The second line is saying. So first line says, the thing you see is empty. The second line says, the mind that sees is also empty. So even the antidote itself vanish on its own ground. Therefore, the mind itself means it on its own, vanish means it's not disappearing. It also dissolve into the ground means the nature of the mind. So what is the nature of the mind? The last line, the essence of the path is to place the mind in the alaya. The nature of the mind is based on alaya. So this is very important term now, because now you are almost learning the Sakya commentaries, right? Because alaya is only accepted by Sakya, Nyingma, and Kagyu. The Gelugpa doesn't accept alaya. This is the biggest difference between three and the Gelugpa school. And thus there's a lot of debate about this term, alaya. So alaya is what? Alaya is the last 8 consciousness, the 8 main consciousness according to the Abhidharma. The alaya is the clear state of mind. It is always there since the beginningless time until you're going to be a Buddha. The only thing that connect your present state of common ordinary life to the resultant state in future when you become Buddha is the only thing that connect that to result and cause state is alaya. Without alaya, there's no way a human can reach to the state of Buddha. So I think these are very fundamental things which Gelugpas don't accept, and it is very interesting debate. It's going on for centuries and since 15th century until now, still now. So you'll learn about these things when you are very much skillful in these text. Then you will go on to next stage, and then finally you become more, and then you will understand the real meaning of Lamde, and then that's how you go on meditation for your whole life. And then there's a possibility you become a master or bodhisattva or even like Virupa or, So these are very important things. So I cannot just ignore because it's too much information, but these small things, they are always connecting each other. So alaya is the nature of the mind. Now, is alaya true or not? That's the question. But alaya is actually basis of the mind. And the nature is not the basis. The basis is like, what you call, the basis is like, let's say, the pillar of the house. And on the pillar, you put the cement and the first story, second story is built. Allah is like that always there. And the first story and second story is also connected to the pillar, but they are not separate. They are one. If you take out the pillar, the first and second will also not exist. If you take out the first and second, the pillar will also come together because they are not all concrete together. Allah is plainly saying, Allah is the basis of everything you feel aware. And Allah is also everything basis of samsara and nirvana, your human life. When you be reborn as a bodhisattva, Allah is always there. So is this Allah relative truth or ultimate truth? That's a big question that some Gelugpa asks. Allah itself is actually relative. Because in ultimate, nothing, even a minor particle does not exist. The highest point in emptiness never claims anything, including Allah. So Allah is relative. So this is a very important thing you have to understand. I'm very sorry that I have to say these complicated things, but what to do? The text itself is talking about ultimate emptiness. So emptiness is the last thing always teach in the classes, but the text is actually bringing it at the very beginning. So we'll slowly learn about this thing again and again through question and answer, and you can also send the question to me if you are in my touch, and then through my friends in Yongping, you can send the form. I will gladly try to answer everything in clear way as much as possible. And then, so these are the meaning of the 4 lines. So I think you can go down. Next page. These are all already covered in the 4 line. So the 4th line, the essence of the path is to place the mind in alaya. Let's go in the next little bit down. Still more. Okay. So the 4th line, the essence of the path is to place the mind in alaya. So when you have got rid of clinging, holding the object as real, then next thing you have to do during the practice of ultimate bodhicitta is even the holder, the mind, the seer, the grasper is also not there, not true. That's the second step of practicing ultimate bodhicitta. And finally, the third thing is everything that is now empty of mind and the object, which is academically called the non-duality of subjective and objective, is emptiness, which is based or has to be focused with the help of alaya as a basis. The alaya is a mind. The alaya mind is a basis where you have to focus that everything that arises from this alaya is empty because there's no object, there's no subject, there's no, there's still you see, but they are not actually what it looks like. Even the thinker who thinks that the cup is real is not real. So when you know that it is coming from the alaya, even the alaya, the essence of the path, has to be understood that it is actually just the luminous aspect of the mind. Just the luminous aspect means it is just clear. The mind is just clear like the transparent, clear like the glass. The alaya is, then what is the nature of alaya? So you will ask in the end. Now, okay, object is not object is empty, and the subject who holds the object is also empty. So if it is actually coming from alaya, so what is the alaya? So third question, and the answer is alaya has to be understood as a mere clarity or luminous aspect. Means it is just the clear aspect of the mind, which is always continuously going on since the beginningness of time until the Buddhahood. So that's why alaya is very important in the practice. Unlike the Gelugpa's 3 school, accept that. If you look at the second paragraph, the last line, it is in the state that the mind is to be placed. In this regard, the manner of cultivation of the view is same for the Sakya, Kagyu, and Nyingma. So this is what Khenpo Abhiram is saying. You see the second 2 line in the, this one. Can you highlight that? You see, this is what Khenpo Abhiram is saying now. So in this regard, means when it comes to alaya practice or believing in alaya that way, and the nature of alaya, it is same. Sakya, Kagyu, Nyingma accept that. Means Gelugpa doesn't accept that. So this is a big debate. It's a very big debate. So those who are very curious, they can read a lot of books about that from the Tsongkhapa's perspective and so forth. But for right now, because you don't want too much information, you have to think alaya is the final basis where the emptiness of subject and object lies or comes from. Not comes from, means where it is based on. So the alaya is the only thing that we have to focus on. So when you focus now finally in the meditation of the ultimate bodhicitta, think that alaya is the clear aspect of mind. You just have to think like that, and you have to be familiar with that again and again. So that's called meditation on ultimate bodhicitta of the Lojong. Ultimate bodhicitta can have different focus object. Sometimes it can be empty of self. Sometimes it can be empty of all phenomena. But here you are actually empty of subjective and objective idea that is actually coming from the alaya, which is merely a clarity, like the transparent glass, nothing beyond that. So you see, there's no seeing or seeing object or the one who is seeing it. So this is a very difficult thing to explain, but what to do, it's in the text. So I cannot just make it more simple than this. So the last paragraph, I think, is almost time. So, okay. After the meditation on, can you a little bit go up, please? Okay. Without clinging to any of the four extremes view with regard to apprehended object and clinging to the mind. Now here it means again, when you now think and already know that the object that you see is also empty, the mind that sees the object is also empty. So what should you do now during the practice? After knowing this true emptiness, now you should rest the natural self-settled state of mind. Means now you should know that the nature of the mind is very settled, which is alaya, that is free from this object and subject notion. And that is where I should now be focusing. And that's where you should be continuing your meditation. So this explains the training in meditation of the ultimate bodhicitta. Now again, before stopping here, after the meditation ultimate bodhicitta, the practice in between end session. So the third part, which is called after finishing the meditation, what to do, we'll speak about that in next class, because I think today there's too much complicated and deep explanation. So we'll stop in the first line paragraph of page number 131. So until that, I think Anila will and also do a good translation of Chinese in next class, where I think I won't be available. But if you have question, you can send. I can send the answer in next class. So the main thing now, before I go, let's see how much time we have. 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes, right?
15 minutes.
So now I will just be again repeating what we have said in the ultimate bodhicitta, four main line. This four main line, if you could remember, can you go above the four lines, the main text again, previous page. No, next page below. Yeah, this one. So this four line, we now today finish this four main teaching from Atisha. The rest of the text is actually commentary by Khenpo Apirumbich. But this four line is the real teaching of Atisha, which you have to, if you really wanted to practice ultimate bodhicitta for your meditation or during the practice of sadhana, because sadhana also has ultimate bodhicitta, you can memorize this text. You can always think about this all the time and think this is the final thing you have to do as a Buddhist. The remaining of the teachings is very easy now. This is the most difficult part. So if you understood this perfectly and clearly, then congratulations. If you don't understood this, then I'm always here to help you. I'll always give you clarification. But sadly, I don't speak Chinese, so I would like to speak in Chinese, but I don't know Chinese, right? So I think Anila should focus on this four line. So I will repeat again what we have said today. During the ultimate bodhicitta, there are three stages when you actually wanted to practice or meditate on the ultimate bodhicitta. First is called preparation, preliminary, which is breathing technique. Right nostril blocked with your left hand. You block the opposite nostril, which is the right nostril. Breathe in Hold it, breathe out. 3 cycles. Again, do with the opposite hand in the opposite nostril 3 times. And then again 3 cycles from both nostrils. So do that 27 time means I think the 9 cycles in 3 times, 9, 3 into 27. So do that. So that's preliminary before practicing. Now, after having done that, you're supposed to have a very calm mind. If you don't have a calm mind, even after breathing technique, I think you should still do some breathing technique. Without the calm mind, which is shamatha, there is no vipassana. Shamatha and vipassana is a cause and result. And then in the resultant state, they become one. So without shamatha, it's impossible to understand emptiness. So that's the main part. And now, after having done the breathing technique, what to do when you have a calm state of mind, you have to understand the reality of things. That's called the actual practice of bodhicitta. So how to understand that? Line by line, 3 steps. First, think that everything that you see, which is the object, is dream. It's like there are so many examples. Like it's like a magic. It's like a what you call rainbow. It's like so many examples in I think so many examples in my Maitreya text and also in Shantideva text. And then like the reflection on the sea, in the nighttime when you go around the lake, you see the reflection of the full moon in the water. Think like that. Everything that you see, it's very difficult, right? Because you are so much attached to the cup that you like. You are so much attached to the laptop you bought. You are so much attached to the pet dog and cat you bought. It's very difficult to think that this cat I bought is dream, that cup I bought is dream. But as Kamal Ashila said in Bhavana Krama, if you think about this again and again, that's called familiarization or bhavana in Sanskrit, then you become one with that object. Means then it's easy to think, oh, this cat is also impermanent. This cat is also not real. It's like illusion. So you'll be free slowly from the grasping. So first thing you have to remember that in ultimate. After that, second thing you have to remember after that is even myself, who I'm thinking about emptiness is also not real. Myself, including my mind, is not real. It's empty because it is unborn. It is unborn, unseen. So many reasons are there to think why the mind is not real. Because if you wanted to look at the nature of the mind, something, you have to find the right cause. But the mind, it's very difficult to find the cause of the mind. Although we have cause and condition from the mind. Yes, sitting posture requirement, it is true. You have to be sit in 7 posture, Vairocana posture, the Vairocana. Or if you have a leg pain, you can sit on the green Thara position, half leg. You can just left the one leg a little bit open. So green Thara position or like Vajrasattva, Buddha Shakyamuni. So there are 7 position, like 7 position of the body. I think it will come later in the text, or maybe we'll talk about next time. Too much information. So then even the mind, even myself, who I think about this illusion is also not true. So that's the second part of emptiness. You have to think and meditate, right? And then when it comes to the thinking of, you want to go beyond that. So there's no subject, there's no object. So maybe there's something that is causing this thing. Yes, it is caused by alaya. So what is alaya? Last question. Alaya is basis consciousness. There are so many translations, like storehouse consciousness, like like the database. What you call nowadays in this modern AI world, you call it data center, right? The data centers. The storehouse alaya is like that data center. It has so many datas there. So that is called basis. But the data center itself is not Facebook. The data center itself is not Zoom. It's not the apps. The data center is actually the basis. Is not the abstract thing called Zoom or YouTube, right? So in the same way, you have to think. Allah is like the data center, also not the real subject and object. It's just there, creating this illusion. So then, is it true that Allah should be considered as a subject? No. because Allah is what? It is merely means only clear. It's just like a glass, clear glass, transparent. So when you die, you see that. It's very important this. When you die, during the process of dying, these are very important thing to master when you are about to die. If you are a patient like cancer, you have to know this nature. So it's so much important thing. So I'm really sorry that I cannot stop blabbing, but I think these are very important practical things that we have to understand. So only after having understood the nature of alaya, then you place your mind on that state of alaya, because your mind, the mind means the one who is doing meditation is now free from subject and object notions, but still he has to be dissolved. He has to be like a drop of water falling into the ocean. You have to be one. You have to be non-dual. That's called non-duality. It's not oneness or universality. When you say oneness or universality or like similarity, it creates a lot of other idea like from other schools like and the non-Buddhist school. So I think I would prefer to say that non-duality means you meditate your mind on that after knowing these things in that state where it is only clarity. You will only see clarity. You only want to see the clarity. You're only after that clarity. So that's the final thing when you want to meditate on ultimate bodhicitta. So that's what we have covered today. And I think we have just managed it in exact time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 9:30. So I will stop here, and please feel free to ask question when you have. You can also ask the question right now, because I think we have 2 or 3 minutes left. You can speak.
请问有人有问题吗？sorry, Khenpo.
Yeah,
In the chat, they have maybe question, a
yeah,
seeking posture requirement.
yeah. I already said that you have to be seated when you are doing meditation. We cannot do meditation while standing. You have to be seated like the Buddha Shakyamuni or Vajrasattva. You see the picture, or you can sit like a green tara if you have a problem with the leg. So these are three options there.
Okay, so have anyone have question?
I know it's very profound, too much information to digest. What to do? This is just the easiest way to understand. But you have to think these are very long commentary, and I'm trying to be as much as short as possible. But not Allah is very important. Allah is the consciousness, the real mind. So you will only understand that when you study Abhidharma more and more, and Lamde also. In Lamde, it's very explained very clearly. But right now, what you have to understand is Allah is the Allah is the real basis, fundamental mind. There's only Allah in the end, but that also cannot be hold or grasped or something like consider as a real. If you think Allah, when I say it is fundamental, do not think that it is the final truth, because that will be a problem in your practice. It will be holding to the cause of samsara. So Allah, you just have to think, is the real clarity of the mind, the real mind that has been since the beginning until the end. So that's only one mind, which is called alaya, which is the basis where all the memory of past lives is stored. When you remember something, if without alaya, you cannot explain past life. When suddenly a baby is born, the baby know how to cry. The mother didn't taught the baby to cry, right? But the baby naturally know how to cry. It's coming from the alaya. Also, there's some baby who can actually know how to, when holding a pencil, just like a few months, he knows how to draw something, right? That's because it's coming from the alaya consciousness. It is actually ripening. That is called karma. That's how the karma function. So you want to know more about karma in detail, you have to know alaya. So this is profound eventually. So it's not I cannot help but it's in the text, right? So I cannot ignore alaya. So next class I won't talk about alaya. I'll just go to the next page. Okay.
Okay.
So you can
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And
For
once
Tenzin.
send question in the form and then I will look at it. So I wish you good night, everyone. And next week I won't be present. I think there will be Chinese translation. So please attend that. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you, Khenpo.
Good night, Khenpo Tenzin.
Bye-bye. Good
Okay,
night.
bye-bye, Khenpo. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Good
Bye-bye.
Thank you
night.
very much.
Good night. Good night.